So, speaking of timing, that's what today's video is about. I don't know if you guys could hear the bell in the background, but I do feel inspired to talk about timing, and more specifically, God's timing. So for these videos, or at least for today's video, I do kind of want to just go on a free flow of talking about timing and how we have this expectation that things are supposed to go a certain way, we're at a certain age or a certain point in our lives, but you really have to remember that we're all on our own individual journeys, and we think that there's a model out there where that is exactly how our life's supposed to go. At this age, this happens. At this day, we celebrate this. At this time, this is supposed to happen. I'm supposed to do this thing. But the reality behind it is that's not how life really works. And in reference to journey and plan, God has a plan for all of us, and every single thing that we've done in our life, it's leading to something bigger, something unexpected. And I just realized that my bag is in the back. I'm just going to move that for aesthetic reasons. But I'm going to keep recording because the other fun thing about life is that not everything's perfect, and we have slip-ups, like Ross coming from behind t-shirts. I hate to, go on a tangent. I don't hate to, actually, but we have this expectation for perfection too. And a lot of us, we get angry and disappointed with ourselves when we don't meet those standards of perfection, and how just unfortunate of a life we're creating for ourselves. Our reality is shaped by ourselves and our perspective. And I guess maybe this video is really about expectations, and expectations of timing, expectations for ourselves, and the expectation we hold for perfection. It's unrealistic. There is no mold, there is no frame, and there are no guidelines for how we're supposed to take each step of our life. Now, there may be some people who disagree because we have the Bible. The Bible has outlined how to live our lives, but sometimes it's not very specific for what we're going through in that exact moment, and it can be difficult to interpret things and apply them thoroughly. And we just have to take serenity in the fact that we learn the best lessons by experience and just living in the moment. Instead of wishing for the moment to be over or wishing to be at a certain point in life, just be here. Be right now where you are, because there's so much to gain from it. There's so much to learn. And the unfortunate thing is you're going to have to relearn it if you're not here now. So be present. I think imperfections is his own little perfection, of just life. And I think that's what really adds beauty to things. And the more we can laugh at the mistakes and the faults and the little accidents, the more exciting life is. Tripping doesn't mean you always fall. Sometimes it just means you stumble and you figure out how to walk better along the way. So right now, I'm sitting outside, and in front of me is this really pretty string. I wanted to get it in the video, but I couldn't because of the lighting. That's one thing you gotta focus on when you are recording videos, is the lighting. And just like the river, we are constantly flowing, and a lot of times we get stuck. Sometimes we get stuck because we're living in the past, and when you live in the past, it's hard for things to flow by. And when you live in the past, it's hard to see a future because you're just stuck in that same place. Sometimes the things blocking the river is emotions from experiences that we had that we knew wasn't fair, that we didn't deserve, but they happened, and we can't get through it because we're so focused on the fact that it's happened. But the longer you focus on that it has happened, the longer it'll keep you from getting past it, and the longer it'll keep you from seeing that it's not happening anymore. It's over. So let it go. Take lessons from the river, let it go and let it flow. Something that I remind myself constantly when I hold on to things, when there are things that I don't understand, things that frustrate me, and things that I wish hadn't had happened the way it did. And in order to acknowledge it and let my river flow past it, blow past the rocks, the rocky shore, and the little pebbles along the way, is to first acknowledge that it did happen, and then let go of it when it's time. And now we're back at timing. And timing is a tricky thing. Sometimes we rush things before it's time, and sometimes we push past it, or we don't allow it to cook long enough, and it didn't get to develop and rise the way it needed to because we rushed it. Or there are things that overcooked because we didn't seize it at that moment. And I think time is one of the tricky things in our life that we try and understand, but there is a reason it's difficult to understand. It's because time is an illusion, but we're going to say that for another video. We're going to stay focused to the whole timing conversation. So I think the only advice that I can truly give that has helped me is prayer, meditation, and looking inward to decide, okay, is this for me right now? Is this something I dive into now? Or is this something that I, crack open in the future? And that's kind of what I use to decide when do I post my next video. Because it was tough at first, just deciding, okay, how is this gonna go? I was being hard on myself, like, why aren't you recording? Why aren't you taking care of that? This is something you want to do. Why aren't you pouring into it? And it was initially difficult for me to find that balance between, is this what I'm going to work on right now? Or are these other things what I'm going to work on? Is this me being lazy and not putting the work in? Or is this me waiting to be inspired, trusting in God's timing? And I think now I'm getting a better hang of it. And I think right now this has been the fruition of trusting in God's timing, because now I do feel inspired, and I have less things going on that need my attention, that I can pour it back into this form of expression via yin to yang, And yeah, look inward for the answers, you guys, because the Holy Spirit's always going to guide you, and God's always talking to us, but we aren't always listening. And the best way to listen is through meditation. But anyways, that's all I have for you guys for now. Until next time. I don't have a quote at the moment, but I feel like a lot of things of what I said is a good quote to go by. But anyways, until next time, you guys, let's live life.